While working on an upcoming video, I was presented with an interesting opportunity. The best part of the Sword and Shield postgame comes from the DLC, that being Dynamax Adventures. Now, this being part of the DLC, that means it's gated behind a paywall, one that costs about half of what the base game does. Now, what if you wanted to play this side mode, get some legendaries, maybe take part in the amazing shiny odds that it has to offer, but you don't want to pay for it? Normally, you just have to suck it up and shell out for it. But what if that wasn't the only answer? So, there's some important bits we need to cover first. For starters, if you own the DLC and are the main profile on a Switch, every other profile can make use of that DLC. However, if you own the DLC and are not the main profile, only you can use it. So for the record, I own the DLC on the main account of what I will list as Switch 1. This account is also on another Switch, but as an account can only be a main account on one Switch at a time, it is purely secondary. This Switch will be referred to as Switch 2. The next point is that, to my knowledge, the DLC content was added in the updates to the games, and the DLC itself is more like a ticket that allows access to the DLC content. Again, this is to my knowledge, and could be wrong, but would make sense in turn to prevent issues when transferring a save file from a Switch with the DLC to one without it. Thirdly, this was a save file created on Switch 1. I do not believe this has any effect on the matter, however I want to make it clear in case it does. In a similar vein, there is a profile with access to the DLC on Switch 2. Again, do not think it matters, but I want to make the situation as clear as possible. So getting into the meat and potatoes here, let's go over how we get access to the caves. The DLC, and Dynamax Adventures specifically, are accessible very early on in a new save file. When you start a new save, once you make it to the wild area for the first time, not even an hour into your playthrough, you can take the train back to Wedgehurst and have access to both the DLC areas. After catching the mandatory Slowpoke, you can make your way to the Crown Tundra. Once you arrive to the Winter Wonderland, you are met by Peony, who challenges you to a battle. This may seem scary, as he has level 70 Pokemon, and you have like a level 10 or so starter and a Slowpoke. Have no fear, for this, like many battles in this game, don't actually require you to win. If you lose, everything carries on the same as if you won. From here, the game actually leads you right to the cave. There's a little bit more story here, but once you clear that, you are set and primed. In just about an hour or so, you have a save ready to be sent away. It is important to note that to get access to the Ultra Beast in the caves, you must finish the 3 main Advent Tours in the Crown Tundra, which, to my knowledge, requires you to have beaten the main game. It only takes like 10 hours or so in total to get to this point, so if you're borrowing a Switch from a friend who owns the DLC, hopefully they're cool with lending it out for an entire day. Alternatively, you can have a save file that is already in the postgame and send it to the Switch with the DLC, but anyway. As long as you save the game in the Crown Tundra map before sending it to the Switch without the DLC, you are golden. So here we have an example in action. We have the save on Switch 1 and able to have full access to the DLC. We are going to move it over to Switch 2, which took forever to connect for me. I had to undock both consoles and connect the Joy-Cons for it to finally work. Once the save data is moved over, I simply have to swap the cartridge over, and there we are. When booting up the game, it will inform you that the DLC content cannot be accessed, and when you're in the game, you'll find you're not able to use any of the DLC fly points. And if you leave a DLC area and return to the base game map, you'll be unable to return to one of the DLC areas. So as long as you don't do that, you're laughing. Now, this is the big point of interest for me. Can you play Dynamax Adventures with other players? If the next Nintendo console is backwards compatible, like the leaks and rumors suggest, I want to know if there's a way for me to have another instance of the game running while hunting shinies in the caves without having to buy the DLC again. Lo and behold, it works. Not only can it connect to another console locally, it can connect to a game running on the same profile. Probably in thanks to Sword and Shield forcing the console into local communication unless you specifically connect to the internet in-game. Speaking of, I did not try playing online, simply as this profile does not have Switch Online, and I didn't want to drop money on such a quick and simple investigation. With that said, that just about wraps this up. This isn't some massive in-depth project or anything, just a little fun thing I discovered out of curiosity while working on a bigger project. And that should hopefully be finished sooner than later, but you never know. Also, when writing the script, it came to me that you can probably add a profile that owns the DLC onto your Switch, make it the main profile, walk into the DLC area on your existing save the game, and return your profile to the main one and achieve the same result. If that works, which I assume that does, man, it would make it way easier. But that's just not how it presented itself to me. I think that's all for this Pokemon investigation. The first one, The Strange Case of the Strange Ball, was a fun video to make, and it was a massive help to this channel's growth early on. It was nice to be able to return to this format and make a new one. With all that said, if you enjoyed the video, I would truly appreciate if you were to like or even subscribe. Doing so really does help out the channel. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments down below, even if it's something like your favorite or most memorable experience in the Dynamax adventures. I would like to thank everyone for watching. This has been Big Blast 99, and I hope you all have yourselves a goddamn good one.